Well, it looks like we're going to jail. It's the Sometimes vlog, yeah. It's a vlog that happens sometimes, and sometimes it happens in Rawlins, Wyoming, here in the middle of the southern stretch of Wyoming, where there's not a lot going on. It's one of those places that if you have to drive all the way across and you don't get to stop often or look at lots of stuff like I'm doing in this particular situation, it is one of the most tedious drives in America. And I wanted to do it as quickly as possible. I wanted to barrel my way across Wyoming because, of course, I just went up to Montana. I just went up to North Dakota and South Dakota and filmed all kinds of incredible stuff. And I got to be home for a festival that's going down pretty soon, a crazy thing at home in Southern California, and then hopefully get back out on the road right afterwards. And so I was driving yesterday and it was raining and the weather's turning bad in this part of the country. And so the last couple days I was like, forget it, we'll just go home because, you know, rain, cameras, they don't always mix together. And then the craziest thing happened. And don't worry, we're gonna get back to this jail in 1 second. In fact, we might even see the inside of this jail. I'm gonna explain all about it, but I'll tell you something that happened yesterday as I'm trying to barrel my way across Wyoming. I'm going down the Oregon Trail and I'm coming, you know, once I hit like Casper area, it started pouring down rain, like white out amounts of rain, just like you could not see anything. You could not you could basically see one car in front of you and that was about it. And then the windshield wipers stopped working, like right in the middle of the storms and driving down 2-lane highways in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, down the Oregon Trail, literally right by Martin's Cove, which is where the Mormon handcart people all got heimbucked and stopped by storms. They got trapped there. Many people died. It's like a famous tragic place that people got heimbucked and stuck on the old Mormon trail. And it was a whole lengthy disaster. I find it very fascinating. I read a book about it. And so every time I see like Mormon handcart stuff anywhere, I've got to mention the fact that these people walked across the plains pushing hand carts to get to Zion, as they called it, and broke down there, and some of them froze. It was a whole crazy situation. So I'm right there at that spot. It's pouring down rain, no windshield wipers, and I realized, like, okay, the next town I get to, I've got to stop and spend the night. And that happens to be this quiet little town, Rawlins, Wyoming, R-A-W-L-I-N-S. And imagine, look at this cute little town. Imagine living here in this cute little neighborhood. And right across the street from you is Wyoming's Penitentiary, built in 1901 and open until 1981. That's 80 years of people being in the clink right here. Wild Western outlaws and 1920s and 30s gangsters, 1950s tough guys, 1960s hippies probably, maybe, were in this place all the way up through the 1970s, and all kinds of crazy criminals were here. This is a place that I passed by this last year with London when we were on our way home from the Black Hills, the same thing. And we were also in a hurry and had no money. He was just really tired. It was super hot. There was a super crazy heat wave. So he was like half uninterested in going in here. And there was nobody at the desk. Like, we waited at the desk forever and nobody ever came down to like let us in or let us know what was going on. And so as a result, I never entered this prison last year. And so as a result, I don't really know that much about it. Not enough to do a random lane. And certainly I don't have enough time. I just got an oil change right now. And hopefully they did it right, because the oil pressure gauge is a little bit low. And I'm like, why is the oil pressure gauge a little bit low? But maybe it just has to cycle through. I don't know. They didn't let it run for very long. So I'm like, well, let's like take a little break, cruise over here, do a little Sometimes vlog, let you guys know what I've been doing, what's going on. Some people are coming up to enjoy the silence at the prison. Let's walk by them without making too much noise. Hello. And anyway, ooh, is there a mural over here? Let's check out the mural. And anyway, I'm just cruising by through town in a hurry, kind of in a hurry, because I'm racing against this weather here. The storms have mostly passed us by, because remember, I don't have any windshield wipers. Now, I didn't know this, but it turns out you can actually drive through the rain, even some somewhat severe rain, with no windshield wipers. It's just not fun. So basically, like, I don't know, when you're in the worst possible rain and the windshield wipers are going, but it's still like so bad that you're like, that's about what it looks like when you're just in regular rain and you're driving without the windshield wipers. It's actually worse when you get into town and you're driving slow, because then it's not coming off the windshield. When you're driving down the highway and you're going 60, 70 miles an hour, which are the speed limits around here, it's actually fine. I was actually surprised how well it worked, and it was fine. But in general, I thought, there's probably a reason windshield wipers work. And the Rain-X was doing its job, but not well enough for me to keep traveling through the night. So here I am. I am at the Wyoming State Penitentiary. Was it a territorial penitentiary first? I don't know. But it ended up becoming the state penitentiary, if it was. And now I'm going to check out the inside. I'm going to keep this all short and sweet because I'm only taking a quick look because I got to be heading down the highway, but I can't pass by again without doing some little investigation, some little exploration of this sick roadside stop. Well, and this is exactly why it's good to do your research before you try to film a whole complicated episode of a show. Because while you can walk around inside a little free museum just inside the doors of the prison over here, unfortunately, you cannot film or do anything really in the prison. Can't wander around the prison unless you're on a guided tour. Now, I kind of thought that was over because the last time that I came through here with London, there were still more COVID restrictions, and so there were all these signs saying the tour is self-guided, which would have been awesome. Unfortunately, you have to wait for a guided tour, and I almost did it, and then I noticed a little sign that said, we do not allow any of our tours to be videoed or recorded in any way, and I was like, oh, well then you can't even really, show the inside while on a tour, especially for the Sometimes vlog, all unedited. So we'd have to work something out in advance with the prison to do a little filming in there, which is fine. Now, I really wanted to get in that cell block. I really wanted to check it out. It looks like Alcatraz inside. It's pretty cool looking on the pictures that I've seen, but unfortunately, it's one of those deals where we almost went to prison and couldn't quite pull it off today. Well, that's okay. All signs in the universe are coming together to point me towards home. It's one of those situations where the weather, the circumstances, the places you thought you were going to check out, everything is pointing you like, go westward, young man, head towards home. And that's okay. I got a lot of projects to work on at home, got a lot of things to accomplish, got to get London, excuse me, ready for summer camp. Look at this guy. There's been so many off-road vehicles going up and down the streets of this little town of Rawlins, and there's something really cool over here in the prison lawn that I want to show you that I'm walking towards. So even though we didn't get to see the inside of the prison, we didn't get to go to jail. Look at this. Can you see up there? I don't want to get too close, but look at those deer right there. There's a whole group of deer, and I'm not going to get much close. I'm not going to get any farther than this wall here because I don't want to disturb them. They're having their lunch. Look at these peaceful, wonderful little deer sitting here. You can see a couple are sitting in the shade of the wall over there, and a couple in the shade of this tree, just sort of grazing. Okay, they look more comfortable now. I don't mind getting a little closer as long as we're not freaking them out or making them upset. Look at these deer right in the shadow of the walls of the prison. A little beautiful nature. Okay, look at that. Bambi over here. I know we're not very close. I got a kind of a wide lens, so we're not getting the up-close nature view that you'd want. But here's the thing. Deer hurt and injure and kill and maul people more often than almost any other animal in the United States. I'm sure dogs do a lot of damage too, but people have accidents with deer all the time because they'll get right up close to them. Not this close. You can be a lot closer than this to a deer, and they're not going to kill you, at least a deer with no antlers. But deers will kick you. They'll hit you in the face. They'll stomp on you. Deers can be... Deers? Why am I saying deers? Deer is the plural of deer, right? Right? Deer can be mean. So we'll get a little close as long as they're comfortable. They don't seem too upset about it. But we're still a good couple of feet away from these guys. We're a couple of tree lengths away. Look at them. Just grazing. Not concerned. I guess it's not hunting season over here. So that's cool. We got kind of a consolation prize. Yeah, anyway, everything's pointing me in the direction of it's time to go home. You got to go with your gut. I'm only a little bit worried about that oil change they did on the van. And I'm worried about that oil pressure thing. So I think I'll drive around the town in a loop for just a second and see what's cooking with that. But yeah, it was a pretty good trip, short trip, 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks of driving, of filming. It's the editing that really gets you, you know. You just wish you could bring an editor on board. Sometimes I bring Allie with me and she's like, yeah, I'll edit and I'll do all this, I'll edit every night. But then she's been out all day with me. She doesn't want to edit any faster than me. And sometimes the episodes can be kind of complicated and take a while. And that's why it's always good to bring back the Sometimes vlog. Now on this channel, in addition to bringing back the Sometimes vlog, they're really not concerned. I don't know what I was worried about. I thought they'd be a lot more flighty and concerned, but you know, they look up when you're walking straight towards them and then they're like, oh, he's not doing anything. He's not trying to hurt us. He's just hanging out, doing the Sometimes vlog, no big deal. In addition to bringing the Sometimes vlog back on this channel, soon we will have a lot of clips of Random Land episodes. Because here's the thing, I have filmed more than 1,000 Random Land episodes over 10 years. 10 years of filming, 10 years of adventures. A lot of those adventures will have multiple locations in them. So like traveling down Route 66 or something like that. And I'll stop at 5 or 6 different places. And then I'll ask for people, you know, I'll ask for suggestions sometimes like, hey guys, what's one place you've always wanted to see me go? And then I'll see a whole list, just tons and tons of comments listing places I've already been and filmed. And so it's like, oh man, people missed out on those. They're like, oh, I've been watching for 10 years and I really wanted you to go to this place or this place. And there'll be places I've already been. Or other times I'll see lots and lots of comments to the effect of, you know, something along the lines of like, oh man, I remember he went to this place and I was looking for it, but I can't find the video and whatever, because it's nested in another episode where we went to 4 or 5 different places. Hello. And so because of that, we finally figured out a way to start carving up and cutting up older episodes of Random Land into sort of mini episodes, like easier to digest for people who are looking for a 5, 10, 15-minute video instead of a whole hour-long show or something like that. And we're going to start uploading those here to this channel. So you'll have some other things to see on here besides just the Sometimes vlog. But I hope to continue doing the Sometimes vlog, at least on a weekly basis, on a somewhat regular basis, although I am a very random guy. There's a reason the show is called Random Land. It was actually the original title of the show was Random Land, and I was like, I'm gonna do this travel show, I'm gonna do whatever, and then I'm like, I can't travel yet. I'm like, well, I had this other idea to start filming at Disneyland, and I was like gonna do that as a satellite show after starting Random Land, but I didn't start Random Land yet, so I started filming at Disneyland. I'm like, I'll call it Random Disneyland, so it'll fit in with my Random Land show. And then when I just started calling them Random Land, because I figured it should just be one show, everybody thought I combined Random Disneyland into one thing. It's not true. I actually had the name Random Land for years and years and years. I thought that'd be such a great name for a show. I had a math teacher who was making fun of me one day and said, oh, we can't all live in Random Land. No, it wasn't a math teacher, it was an English teacher in Savannah High School who was like, we can't all live in Random Land or whatever. And I was like, that is great. It's just like Launderland, Spaghetti Land, well, Disneyland, Fantasyland, all those kinds of lands. I grew up in Southern California, and there were a lot of lands everywhere, Spaghetti Land, all that kind of stuff. And I explain all that in my forthcoming book, which is another reason I have got to head home, because unbeknownst to everybody in the world, I have had this book finished since like 2020, the end of 2020. It's been finished as far as my writing it, but draft 2 I started tinkered with in 2021, and then I just couldn't get there. I just couldn't get myself into the mode. It was one thing during COVID when you're locked down, there's nothing else to do. I got so bored quickly that I wrote 140,000 words or some crazy amount of, like a tome, you know, like a Bible of just thick book, which is getting cut down and edited now. Not by me, because I spent 2 years just like trying to get back into it. I just can't. The ADD is too strong. I can't get back into something. I already did my part. And so my good buddy Classic Tyler Evans of Georgia, who has this, you know, his journalism degree, and he's a heck of a writer, heck of a scribe, has been editing it and moving some things around and cropping things down and just fixing the sort of mistakes that you make when you have no idea how to write a book and you just wrote a bunch of tales from Random Land, which may end up being the title, who knows. We still haven't figured that part out, and that's what I have to go home for, because Tyler has been working on that book the last couple of weeks and really going to town on it, and we are nearly there, which means I got to go home, figure out about all the publishing, figure out about all that stuff. Then Exoticon is coming up. I can never spell it by spelling bee style. Exotic is EXOTIC, No, it's T-K-O-N, Exoticon. So it's like Exotica music, like all kind of mid-century stuff, space themed, tiki themed, all those themes all combined together, all the sort of exotic fantasy stuff of the mid-century, all in one crazy festival happening at this place called Wisdom LA, which is a bunch of domes that'll all have projections and crazy stuff in them. And, you know, it's just time to go. This van I bought because I knew I was gonna have to replace every single piece of this van, one piece at a time, including the motor, which I haven't got to yet. That's gonna cost $2 or $3 grand. I got a friend who's gonna put it in, do all the work once we were able to, you know, save up enough money. I didn't expect to have to do the transmission so soon last year when we were in the middle of nowhere, and hopefully we won't have any more middle of nowhere disasters. But as I've put it, I've kind of put my finger on the thing people don't understand about this van. They're like, you bought a money pit, throw it in the ocean. Like, for example, the window wipers not working right now, or the windshield wipers. And the whole thing when I bought it is I knew I was gonna have to replace every piece of it. I knew it's like, yeah, I'll put it around town, then eventually I'll get out there with the van. I just got overly excited and wanted to be out on the road in this thing. So the problem isn't the van. The problem is that I take the van out to the middle of nowhere and cross the whole Oregon Trail and stuff with it. I crossed the entire United States with it last year before it was really ready, before I had done the necessary work, before I had put in the extra money for it. I actually got that van super cheap, and even all the money I put into it so far, it's still a heck of a bargain. I just went to the oil change place and like, dude, this van is awesome. Somebody's taking really good care of it. I'm like, yeah, that's me putting in piece by piece, replacing every piece of it. So it's funny because I was thinking about the windshield wipers, and I'm like, you know, we just did the windows and all the window switches, and I was like, we really need to do all the switches for the windshield wipers. I was like, I should probably get new motors because those go out eventually. I've had a bunch of old vans, so I've had all these things die on me before, and since I knew that the previous owner to me hadn't really replaced or done anything to this van, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to replace every single thing that moves or is made of rubber on this van, one piece at a time. So I had a good 2 weeks. We had a good run. Everything is going swimmingly. It's been driving like a champ to get back home. Knock on, well, we can knock on wood because there's a little bit of wood right here. And we'll knock on the van too. So far, so good. If they didn't screw up this oil change, I plan on making it home in a day or two. And maybe we'll have some more sometimes vlog action along the way. The only thing that's going to stop me is whether the weather is horrible or not. It's kind of heimbucking me. The whole guided tour situation is all heimbucking me. And a lot of places like this on the side of the road really struggle. Some are state-owned, like this one, or will be owned by historical societies. Others will be privately owned. And a lot of them will talk to me like, we just don't know. We're just trying to bring people in. We don't know. I will just give a tip to anybody working in government anywhere or a historical society or anything else. Avoid guided tours. Make guided tours an option. If there's little sensitive areas, like you're in an old mansion house and there's lots of antiques, okay, you gotta do a guided tour. There's no way around that. You can't have people running in there, bumping into stuff, knocking stuff over. But it would be better to have like somebody stationed in the place, keeping an eye on it as people come through at their own leisure, than it would be to do guided tours as the only option. Guided tours are awesome. You can learn a lot from tour guides, but when they're the only option, I've seen a lot of people since I was out here talking to the person come up and go, oh, and they're like, yeah, next tour at 12:30, because it has to be an hour away, because a lot of these places have low budget. They don't have that access to like tons and tons of tour guides. And you just see people go, ah, you mean I gotta wait an hour to start an hour-long tour? Like, I was kind of hoping to just go in, see the big cell block, take a selfie, get out of here, that kind of thing. So I think more and more places are catching on, more and more places are learning, more and more places are realizing like, oh, people want to come, they want to take pictures, they want to put it on Facebook, they want to take a TikTok video, they want to do whatever they want to do. People are so much more interactive with the places they visit now, creating content, I hate that word, but for family, for friends, for you guys, for anybody else. And so I think that's one suggestion, one tip I would give almost anybody. But a lot of these places are controlled by older folks who have been in government or been on the board of a place for a long time. And they're just like, well, if you video the tour, no one will ever come back. And that is just absolutely the opposite of the case. Museums have done research and all kinds of stuff about the more some places photograph, the more people want to go there. That's the Horseshoe Bend effect. Out in Arizona, the Horseshoe Bend, a very famous spot just outside the Grand Canyon where you could see the Colorado River make this perfect horseshoe. And you could stand on the cliff and just get this perfect selfie or whatever. And it blew up once Instagram came around, and there are thousands of people out there every day, like tour buses. It's like an Instagram versus reality place, the ultimate Instagram versus reality place. Allie and I went and filmed it because she wanted to go see it, because she's seen all these Instagram pictures. I knew what was going to happen. I was like, oh, it'd be the perfect place to go film, because I can show, hey, here's this famous thing that's popping up on Instagram all the time. And then let's turn around and look at this. Look at all the tour buses and the tourists from foreign countries and the people everywhere. The Navajo taco stands, all that kind of stuff. So that was a pretty interesting thing. But it works. The more people take pictures of a place, the more people visit a place, show a place, the more people go, you know what, that is exactly the kind of place I've been looking for. Just the kind of place I wanted to go and see. All right, I've been talking to you for too long. I thought, we'll do a 5-minute sometimes vlog. 5 minutes outside, 5 minutes inside. We never did get inside, but I thought I'd hang out with you guys here for a while. I'm gonna say goodbye to my friends, the deer. Goodbye, deer. See you later. Bye, Bambi. It's time for me to go home and sleep well. I'm gonna drive around and see if that oil pressure gauge goes up. But if not, I'm gonna cruise back to the place and go, hey, the oil pressure gauge is kind of low. What do you guys think about that? What's the reason for that? Because it wasn't like that 25 minutes. I usually always have it. It's always in the middle. It's not all the way down, but it's just kind of to the down side. You know what I mean? It's like, just something I noticed. I don't know anything about cars. I'm not a car guy. So maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe they'll laugh at me. Maybe they'll laugh at me. They'll reject me. Anyway, I gotta go drink some water and drive around town a little bit and prepare to go home and sleep well. You guys have done your duty. You guys can do that too. Thanks for watching. Check out the links below. See you later.